A little bit of rhythm and blues, a country tune or two, and a talented actor, singer, guitar player, and songwriter is a smoking way to begin or end any day. Jim Byrnes is the full meal deal. He's a multi-talented musician who gives back to his community and creates magical musical moments on mountaintops, in Chinese gardens, and smoke-filled bars when it was allowed to smoke in a bar. Byrnes takes us on a sojourn through his music and his life next. It's good to be here with you today and with Mr. Jim Byrnes, who was and is a friend of mine. He is a bountiful musician who tours around, sings songs, plays guitar, and creates albums by himself and with others. His new CD has a little country flavor. It's called I Hear the Wind in the Wires. Even though he hails from down south, he can play hurtin' songs and honky-tonk with the best of them. You proved that on this new CD, sir.
Why, thank you, ma'am.
Well, nice to see you again, Jim.
Yeah, I reckon it is.
You're an actor, I know that. An actor in your soul.
Oh, yeah. That's always been, since my, I guess my original hero was Jimmy Durante as a kid,
Really?
Yeah. I got a million of them. Good night, Mrs. There was something about him that I loved, he had that, he was so beat up looking, but there was something, and he was funny and all this stuff, but something so poignant at that thing you do at the end, the Mrs. Calabash. Anyway, but I've always wanted to, as a little kid, I would, that's all no plan B. Let me put it that way.
But you did go to acting school.
Well, I did, yeah. I majored in theater at Boston University, and then I studied at St. Louis U, and then I studied a bit in New York with some of the big wigs in the acting business, for all the good that does you.
You got a gig or two.
Oh, I got a couple of gigs, yeah.
A little Shakespeare?
Yes, actually my first real sort of professional acting job was in St. Louis. Webster University had an outdoor a summer festival, and we would do we did Othello, we did The Taming of the Shrew, we also did J.B. by Alistair MacLean and The Importance of Being Earnest that summer. But the only two really speaking parts I had were in Othello and in The Taming of the Shrew. O Spartan dog, more fatal than hunger, anguish of the sea, look upon the tragic loadings of this bed. This is thy work, the object poisoned sight, let it be hid.
We should call Christopher Gaze, Bard on the Beach. I think there's
I've
possibilities
talked to
here.
Chris, but it's always, we'd have to, I have talked to Chris about doing it one of these days. One of these old days.
One of these old days. In the meantime, what led you to country music? Who led you to country music?
Well, since people know me as this blues singer, rhythm and blues singer, and I've been doing that for so long. But I grew up on this stuff, as it was just part of what was going on. I spent my summers as a kid. I spent them in Kentucky. My dad wanted me to understand that pork chops and chicken didn't come wrapped in plastic, so I would go down to Berea, Kentucky, and spend a good part of the summer with his friend Roland Gaines, and we would work his little. He had some property up the holler, and so that music was just such a part of everything that was going on. And the other thing was, when I was first starting to play the guitar, you would turn on American Bandstand or Where the Action Is, or Lloyd Thaxton Show, or any of those things, and they would have all this, they're doing their hit records, but they'd all be lip syncing, right, and pretending. But there was a station in St. Louis on Saturday. It was the Ernest Tubb Show, Flatt and Scruggs, Porter Wagner, the Wilburn Brothers, one after the other, and these guys were actually playing their guitars, and you would think, oh yeah, I know that chord, and, oh yeah, I know that, and so. And these songs they're so great, they're so well written, they're so beautifully sung and crafted, and you kind of, some people dismiss them in a way, but when we decided to do this, we were on the road. Steve Dawson and I were on a long road trip, and so
another great guitar player.
Oh, unbelievable. And we're popping in CDs as driving and listening to, and it was a Buck Owens tune that came on, and I just said, man, I just love this too much. We've got to do this. And so, it took us a while to get it together. And the hardest part was not making it a 6 CD box set, because there's so much great material that I wanted to do. And it was just stripping them down was so hard. The one song that I knew that was going to make it on here was the Marty Robbins tune, Big Iron. When I was 11, I got that first guitar. It was a K plywood, like a cheese cutter. You know, I mean, you would look at it and your fingers would bleed. But it was a guitar, and it was mine. And I would sit down in my parents' basement, and they had this credenza with a mirror, and I would stand in front of it and play that Marty Robbins gunfighter ballads and trail songs over and over and over again.
So I was singing into my hairbrush,
yeah.
and you were.
Yeah, exactly right. And so it was, I mean, it really is a labor of love. And in fact, one of the reviews we got, we said, it's not often that you can hear something and hear the utter joy that the guy that's in the making of it. Even though there's some real sad, you know, tears in my beer songs on here. The joy that we had making this was just a blast.
And yet, as you know so well, people say, I'm a music fanatic, but I'm not so fond of country.
Yeah, all the time people say that. They go, well, I love all music, but boy, I don't like country. Well, I don't know what they're talking about.
No, well, I was raised on it, so
right,
I
you know,
have to like it.
But it's such a part of, I mean, you know, the Irish Scots ballads that came over, you know, that were folk music, turned into this. I mean, you know, it's so related to who I am. You know,
sure.
Genetically, that you know, I mean, it's in there, and it ain't gonna come out. And another thing, you know, people talk the blues, and I mean, now you go down south, and all the guys love. I mean, all the blues guys. When John Lomax went down to Mississippi to record Sounds from the South for the Library of Congress in 1941, and he was looking for Robert Johnson, found out he had died, and he heard about this guy who lived on the Stovall plantation and was a tractor driver and a great guitar player and singer, and it's Muddy Waters, right? So he goes and meets up with Muddy and asks, and Muddy's 25 years old at the time and a tractor driver on a plantation, and he asks to see his set list. And Muddy, and this is, you can Google it, you can see it. It's a list of 32 songs, 7 of which are by Gene Autry. Back in the Saddle Again,
really?
The Missouri Waltz. And Muddy talked about, he said, well, you know, Son House and Robert Johnson and Tommy Johnson and the Mississippi Sheiks, he says, but the reason I really wanted to be an entertainer, and this is the truth, he said, the reason I really was like singing cowboy, Gene Autry.
Only you would know there is a link between Muddy Waters
and Gene Autry.
And Gene Autry.
Listen, Jimmy Rogers, the yodeling, you know, the singing brakeman, Jimmy Rogers. Howlin' Wolf, you know, did his trying to yodel like Jimmy Rogers, and he says it. You know, that's what they grew up with. Jimmy Rogers and Louis Armstrong recorded together in Hollywood in 1928. Come on, I mean, it's like this.
It is like this. Can you yodel?
A little bit, yeah. I do. You know, I do the Hank Williams tune where it's kind of a semi-yodel at the, but this time of the morning.
No, I'm not going to make you do it,
right, yeah.
because it might make me want to yodel, and I'm not so good at yodeling. I can lasso a calf.
Okay.
That's about it.
Now we're talking.
Now we're really talking. Now, you came in early this morning.
I did.
And sang a little tune for us. Tell me about that tune.
Well, this tune was a hit, a big hit, #9 on the Billboard, both country and pop charts in 1965 for the great Marty Robbins. Once again, I mentioned Marty, one of the great singers of all time. And it was, you know, and Marty had hits going back to like 56. I think A White Sport Coat was probably his first big hit. But he had just a hit after hit.
And a Pink Carnation, I'm all dressed up for the dance.
I'm all dressed up for the dance.
Once you told me long ago, to the prom with me you'd go.
There you go.
Okay.
And so Marty had and he put this out, and in '65 it was quite a hit for him. And the fellow who wrote the song put it out later that year. And like I say, Marty had a string of hits for 9 or 10 years at that point. And the guy who wrote the song was an unknown, at that time, singer-songwriter, folk singer from Orillia, Ontario, a guy named Gordon Lightfoot. And
he wrote
The Ribbon of Darkness.
Ribbon of Darkness. Yeah. You know all of that stuff.
Well, it's important to know where stuff comes from.
You bet. Let's have a listen.
Okay.
Ribbon of darkness over me, since my true love walked out the door. tears I never had before, ribbon of darkness over me. Clouds are gathering over my head, chill the day and hide the sun, shroud the night when day is done, ribbon of darkness over me. Rain is falling on the meadow where once my love and I did lie. Now she is gone from the meadow, my love, goodbye. Ribbon of darkness over me, where once the world was young as spring, where flowers did bloom and birds did sing, ribbon of darkness over me. Here in this cold room lying, don't wanna see no one but you. Oh Lord, I wish I could be dying to forget you. Oh, how I wish your heart could see how mine just aches and breaks all day. Come on home and take away this ribbon of darkness over me. Won't you come on home and take away this ribbon of darkness over me.
James Thomas Kevin Byrnes.
C'est moi.
Same guy, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful song.
Thank you. It is a beautiful song.
It is. What runs through your mind when you hear yourself singing?
Oh, it's kind of bad stuff.
Like,
I hear all the little things. Oh, it could be a bit better. I'm bad that way. I'm very critical of myself.
well, we were cut by the ring in the studio. It looks like a Grey Cup ring or an NFL ring. What kind of ring?
This is my father's ring when he graduated from St. Louis University in 1944. He had graduated from high school in 1930, president of his class, top marks, but from a really poor family, and spent 14 years going to night school and this and that and the other thing, and eventually spent a year actually going to university and got this. And I would be going off and on as a kid. I'd be going on and on about something, and he'd go, "You and your GD education." And the levels of irony in that were something. Anyway, I've since he passed 10 years ago, I keep him with me.
How did he make a living?
He was an accountant, but during that time that he had, from 1930 to 1944, he worked on oil rigs in Oklahoma. He was a repo man for an insurance company. He was an usher at the prize fights. He did whatever.
Eclectic.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back with honky-tonk bluesman Jim Byrnes. Music is in his heart, it's in his soul, and most recently in a CD called I Hear the Wind in the Wires.
Rolling down the track, and then your two loving daddy ain't coming back, 'cause I'm moving on. I'll soon be gone. You were flying too high for my little old sky.